Welcome to the Great Distraction.
How's it going, everyone? This is The Great Distraction, and today the topic of discussion is, why do we still believe in politics? My name is Ben. With me today are my co-hosts Joe.
What's up?
Thomas.
Hello.
And Glenn.
How's it going, guys?
If this is your first time listening, welcome. We thank you for joining us. The Great Distraction is a podcast that focuses on a vast and random range of topics, and we hope that each episode leaves you with, if nothing else, something to ponder. So, today's topic, in this day and age, why is it that we, as a people, as a culture, as a society, as a country, name your demographic, it doesn't matter, your state, your city, your group of friends. And maybe you don't in your group of friends when we take it down to something that small. Maybe you don't believe in this stuff anymore, you don't put any stock into it. But a vast majority of the people in this country do, and in other countries as well. Why do we still put value on our political system? Why do we still care? Why is it people still will fight over their political points of views, or their politicians, or their party association? Why does it mean so much to us? Especially when, again, in this day and age, we have so many examples of this system being mocked, being made fun of, being a reality TV show, being something that should be laughed at this day and age, that obviously doesn't hold the same meaning or value that it once did, that this country was founded on, or that it did even a few decades ago. Why is it that we still? Is it the hope and dream that it'll come back? Is it because it holds our attention, like reality TV entertainment, or following the stars? We it's like we're following the president and the jokes and the funny things that he says and does entertains us in that same manner, or is there something deeper that we actually are still believing in this concept and hoping that there's some truth to it?
Well, I think the first thing is, a lot of people, I always look at politics, religion, a lot of these things in the same kind of direction. They're all about control. So we have a lot of people on the planet, and very few people are actually really in charge. So there's got to be a way to either unite those people on your side or put them in a position where you have some sort of control. I've always felt politics is absolutely there to control the mass people, to get some betterment done. But I think a lot of people believe in politics because they say, oh, this politician is going to make it better for healthcare, or this person is going to make the roads better, or the economy, or blah, 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 whatever your cult is that month. But I think a lot of people fall into it because they want to believe that there's some sort of connection between them and what's actually running all of this. Well, that's a person. He's the president, but he's still a human being. I'm a human being. We're on the same page. I think that a lot of people want to believe they're part of this bigger existence, and I think what we've seen recently is that that's obviously not true in any regard.
Yeah, that's a good point you bring up about kind of like sectioned improvements. I don't have another term to use for that, but people want certain things improved upon, and even if you don't like everyone as a whole. For example, let's say just because the first thing that came to my head, if you're super into no gun control, well, that the Democrats are not going to help you with that. So maybe you're like, guns are really important to me. I really like them, but I don't like Republicans. But the only people that are going to, vote in my favor with respect to guns are the Republicans.
Group A versus Group B.
Exactly. So it's like, well, I guess I like Group A a little bit more because they're the only ones because I really want this thing to change, and they're the only ones that represent that, and that means Group B basically isn't even in the running anymore. So that sectionalized improvements.
Yeah. Well, when you only have two options for anything, like say, oh, you know what, I'm gonna buy a car. Well, it's either car A or car B. At some point, you're just gonna pick one.
Yeah.
And I think with the American politics, that's what everybody is pigeonholed into. You got to pick something because people think you actually have to pick something.
Yeah.
They don't realize you're free to say no.
Well, we know independent.
Screw this.
Yeah, we know independent doesn't work because they never even collect enough votes to even stay in the running when it comes down to the final battle between the two, and that's all. I've always thought that sucked. It'd be a very very interesting to stir the pot in our political history to pick somebody
Yeah.
that wasn't
But
one of the.
yeah, but I think the thing too is like for me, even being when I was really young, I was a punk rock kid, and from as early as I could know what a politician was, my first thought of them was, wow, what a scumbag.
Yeah.
You know, you put everything together, their job, their position, who they're relying on, who they're getting money from, how they're the whole thing. I mean, if you're smart enough if you know anything about mobsters, then you should know a lot about politicians.
Yeah, it was that and attorneys, right? Those
And
are the
attorneys.
two-
And you ever notice that almost every politician was an attorney? There's a reason. They have to learn how to BS the laws in their favor
Yeah.
before they can have a successful political career. It's
Yep.
about a movement through a career change that a lot of
Career
I'm
path.
just going to say 1%ers seem to all share. They go to Yale, they get a law degree, they're on the city council, they're this, they're CEO for their dad's company, and next thing you know, they're governor.
Yep.
Next thing you know, they're president.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It just kind of keeps moving. Seems to kind of keep moving through that.
But they're there to represent the common man.
Yeah.
Who
Right.
they've never met.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, George works for him at that Factory 7 over in Lansing.
It's in his
that he
district.
owned.
Yeah.
That's in my district, right? I know that guy.
Represented
We talk
by-
to each other at the mall all the time.
Yeah, and so I maybe not where I grew up, but a lot of people do try to stay in contact with their local congressman, district representative, whatever their entity is in their area that is assigned to represent them. And they do. They write their letters and they say their statements and they make their phone calls and they take their surveys when they're offered to them. And who knows if that go.
I feel like that's a certain demographic of the population, though. There
Yeah.
are a vast quantity of people that don't know how to get a hold of their senator.
No,
They've
I've never done
thought
any of
to
those things.
call
But
them.
yeah, I've never done any of those things, but I know that there are people that do that.
And then, yeah.
And so
well, I think another thing too is you kind of think you hit on that is a lot of people want to believe that they're part of the democracy.
And that's what I was going to say is I
Right.
wonder if that actually makes any difference or if that is
I think it does. I mean, my grandmother, rest her soul, died at 100 years of age last year, and up until the moment she died, she would tell me, write your congressman, stand up to, she fight the power. My 100-year-old grandma was fight the power till the end. She used to write letters to senators, congresspeople, and because in the 20s, they might get that letter.
Yeah.
She grew up in a time where you had more of an actual say if you stood up and said, hey, I got a question.
There was a chance you could be heard.
Exactly. As opposed to now where it's just like, oh, well, I'll tweet it.
Yeah, and that's why I wonder
Maybe
if
somebody will care.
If any of those efforts in this day and age actually make it through to them, and if it does make it through to your representative, does it even matter? I mean,
I think only if it goes viral.
yeah,
Sure.
you're
If it catches enough flack to make them concerned, if it.
We have to pay attention now because everybody else is talking about it.
Sure.
yeah.
But, any publicity is good publicity. So.
Yeah,
That's
there's
true.
really no such thing as bad publicity as our current presidential state. All the bad things he said didn't matter.
I know.
Not
Yeah, that's the
one
thing.
bit
Yeah,
of
that kills
difference.
me. Not that I want to go into full-blown politics, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying as people and believing in people. So, if I'm going to believe in a politician and I stop voting because it's pointless. It's been proven it's been pretty much pointless to a large degree. So, these people are voting for someone that they think is on their side or think is this, and I don't know how people get so wrapped up in this fake make-believe world that they built. And I watch people do it during the elections where all of a sudden 12 months ago, they never said the words, whoever is president now, or whoever's running. Those words never even came out of their mouth, but all of a sudden they're their biggest fan and they're just like me and blah, blah, and they're willing to argue with their parents at Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh, yeah.
They're willing to break up with their,
Significant
others,
Oh, yeah.
all these crazy things because that person is up there. They're speaking for them. That's the part of politics I don't understand. How do these people associate like that? I don't see the connection between me and any of those folks.
I think the desperation to feel like you have a voice or that you
could
have
very well be.
some way to influence in that arena. I
Yeah.
personally don't believe that I do, but
Yeah, there's another.
a lot of
there's-
people do.
There's
you know?
another kind of angle I've always wondered about because I've never I've never really been into, and I wasn't really raised around a family that was super into following politics and rooting for one side or the
me
other.
either,
Right?
thank goodness.
Part of my family was into sports, but not not my immediate family. And so when I see people fight or argue or root for one team or another, to some degree it kind of reminds me of, at least like I said, the way
Politics.
it kind of reminds me of how people take sides for politics. And I'm thinking maybe part of the way they learned this
it's that two people battle. Sports is the same way. It's that
that's
mentality.
what I'm saying. Is maybe they learned that mentality from the mentality that we learned on how to root for your sports team. And so I don't want to go too far into sports things, but it's always blown me away is that that we start people in this country at the youngest age possible. I mean, there are little 3, 4, 5-year-olds out there playing soccer, and mom and dad are out there, yo, go do this, go do that. You're indoctrinating and breeding in this competitive nature, from the very beginning. And then right when as they continue growing up, it's, who's your favorite sports player? Or, somehow it's to breed this, pick a side, my side's better, this is how we breed competitive
and
nature.
this is how you fight
divide
for
and conquer, man.
Divide and conquer.
Yeah, and they tell them that this is important because for some reason to them this competitive nature is important. I haven't fully understood that either because I grew up just fine without it.
Well, I agree, but I think it also goes back to the mentality of people where it's a feast or famine. If you're not the strongest male in the tribe, you're not going to make it.
Very primal, very
We're
animalistic.
still there, dude. We're still toddlers in the evolution of the life of all whatever this is we're on.
Yeah.
And that's the part that's for me is hard because I look a lot deeper into what we are and where we are as people, and I think that all this politics and all this fighting and stuff, this is so beneath our capability of being humans.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And the people who get wrapped up into it, to me, I feel like are the bottom of the herd. And I don't mean to be like, I'm smarter or better than somebody else, but I mean, you're getting caught up in some things that are so trivial that don't even remotely have anything to do with you. If Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton or whoever else has $1 billion because you don't, it does something tomorrow. I just don't get that desire or that screaming fight that you're a part of that.
Yeah. As if those people are actually ever going to do anything for you, the little guy.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to be nobody to them no matter what.
No matter what, man.
You're an idiot if you believe anything different, really.
Or you're wishful thinking, I mean, you just want to fight the good fight and hold on to the hope that we actually matter as individuals, that we're anything other than pigs in a trough.
I think part of that too plays in hand because when you realize that you can't have a voice really, and that you are a pawn in the game, well then all of a sudden that breeds extremist activism type of behavior.
If you can't be a part of it, you're going to be against it.
You get frustrated, and it's totally understandable.
Disenfranchised.
It's totally understandable.
Yeah, that, and I think that whole scenario, the reason I mentioned about the disenfranchised people of the earth, disenfranchised. I've been disenfranchised since the day I was born. I don't understand what's all of a sudden you guys are special. You're disenfranchised. You're not special. If you were, your votes would have counted 20, 50, 80 years ago. People who just sit around and do nothing and complain, who get mad because their vote doesn't count, or there's I'm not complaining politics is the way it is because I don't vote. I know it is. I'm just talking about it. I'm not going to get on some high horse and say, I believe this and this person should be president and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. And the thing is, those people become different people the day they stand there and go, I am president of this or that. That you're a different freaking person.
Oh, yeah.
And just like being filthy rich, the reason people say they're filthy rich is because they had to do something dirty to get to that point. And I think if you're a career politician, you can't survive in a bunch of sharks being a teddy bear.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Absolutely not. Nope.
So you have to be a part of it. You have to be one of those people, and that whole disenfranchised thing. I'm like, we as the American population outside of Washington D.C., we are all disenfranchised. Yeah. There is a bipartisanship that you will never understand because they're on the same team, and it's the team against us.
Yep.
Absolutely.
It's because we didn't grab life by the pussy. That's where we went wrong. You see,
we didn't have the pussy to grab.
Oh man, we didn't have the right one to grab.
We were disenfranchised.
That is exactly what it is. If they would have showed me the right one, maybe.
Well,
see, that's the election I'm going to get behind.
I'm
tired of being pussy disenfranchised.
Where does the money come from for each of these candidates? I mean, if you look at it, they have the same financial supporters. So either way,
special interest groups, which means Joe, who wants to dump toxic waste in Lake Michigan, has a special interest.
Joe,
you're damn right he does.
Pharmaceutical companies nowadays.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it used to be big tobacco, right?
Yep.
Used to lobby everybody.
Yep.
Now it's big pharma.
Oh yeah.
So, okay, going back to what I kind of wanted to go a little deeper into the where do we learn, where I was thinking we kind of learn this behavior, this fighting for your side thing. So the sports thing was one of the aspects. The other one was how much media focuses on on the importance that you should feel about following, following celebrities. You get so much of it, even in your local news nowadays. You'll see, Brad Pitt did this, or the new baby came.
What are you talking about, Brad Pitt?
Yeah. Why is that the one?
Has he talked to Angelina again? Yeah. I swear they're still meeting up.
Are they broken up or?
I don't.
Okay. Well, whatever. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
No, but I'm with you.
That's what I'm talking about. So you combine that illogical pursuit in information and caring about what. Again, somebody who's rich and famous and that you'll never meet, they'll never care about you. Why do you care about what they're doing in their lives, right? With the competitive nature of sports and anything else that breeds you against me, I'm better. My set of friends is better than yours because they're my set of friends and because we are us. Put those two together, and that's where I have seen, when
the celebrity thing, when you brought that up, to me it instantly. One of the things, and this politics game goes into another realm of 80 other directions too. The first one is media, and when we talk about celebrities and stuff, the American culture has sold its own people the ideology that if you're not that rich and that famous and that cool, you're just a simpleton.
Yeah.
The goal is to be that guy. That's the goal. So it doesn't matter who you stab, steal from, kill, whatever, as long as you can get away with it, because that's the goal, to have the yacht, to have this ideology of this thing. And so that, fight mentality, going back to sports, it's like, well, they're the competition. They're in front of your yacht.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about it?
How do I get my own yacht, man?
Apparently play sports really good.
Yeah. Throw that rubber ball farther and harder than the other guy.
Or just run.
Yeah.
Well, I think some of the allure with the sports, not to get totally off track, but
it's all right.
I think it's part of it, though.
But that is kind of the symbology of our warrior. The
Yes.
tribal mentality.
Yes.
I mean,
isn't that why MMA is so those fighting things that
absolutely
they do so big?
And you want to associate with somebody that you feel is a champion, is a winner. It feeds that.
Well, certain kind of people want to associate with it. But you're right.
Well, yeah, but
you're right.
I mean,
you're right.
If I have a friend that's in a martial arts competition and I go and watch, of course I'm going to be rooting for them. They're part of my crew. So you're trying to project that on these large teams that have no connection to you aside from your money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
they don't have that connection anymore because they got it.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't even need our money anymore. They need much more money than we could possibly offer them. Who knows if they even need our votes at this point either. But I hear what you're saying. Yeah,
you got to look at the human psychology.
Yeah, it's camaraderie. It's pack mentality.
Sure, we're a communal species. We survive by relying on each other.
Yeah.
We have to communicate with each other. We have to interact in a society. We don't just.
We can text now, Glenn.
Oh, what?
Plus, I think that the competitive nature is part of being a human being. As soon as human beings found out that you could draw back a bow and fire a projectile arrow, then it was, well, I bet I can shoot that piece of wood faster, further, and straighter than you can.
Or see that girl over there, I bet I can get her.
Instant competition.
Yeah.
Well, it's procreation, it's survival, it's feeding yourself. I mean,
definitely.
On the base level, we have this society that we've built and everything around us that kind of distracts us from the reality that we are still just animals. We have those same instincts that we had 1,000 years ago when we're killing each other for
absolutely.
Looking at each other
It's the alpha male.
Yeah. I mean, that's still present.
Yeah, and I think, in the culture that we're living in now, especially in the terms of like media, it's almost like, who's the alpha male? Who do you want to be this month? Who's on the cover of GQ today? That sort of mentality. And it's like, well, I know so many people who just like follow celebrities' lives, and I'm like, how does this even remotely help you in any way, shape, or form? And the reality is it doesn't, but they have nothing else to believe in, which is exactly why a lot of people follow religion.
It doesn't, exactly. It doesn't even relate to them. That's what's even worse. It's like, Beyonce goes out and buys
We're disenfranchised, man.
Yeah, but she goes out and buy a $20,000 dress. You will never own a $20,000, not that any of you guys
But now you want one.
Yeah, well.
And so there's people who can sell you a $10,000 dress or even a $5,000 dress while you're stepping up to that one.
Conditioning, huh?
Yeah,
exactly.
That's all part
Training.
Of
this is what you should want in life.
Yep, definitely planting those ideas. It's inception. Okay, so those are those are all reasons why we kind of hold on to this mentality that we care about these things. But I'm kind of wondering, like, what would happen? First, I don't know how it would happen, but what would happen if we, as a people, stopped caring? I mean, obviously, somebody's still going to run, a country or a political entity, or there's still going to have to be some leadership or decision making going on.
Does there?
I don't see. That's the other thing is what happens if there's nobody making any rules and nobody enforcing any rules. Obviously, there's some. At first, there's going to be some level of
Will there be zombies in this world?
Yeah, that's right. There's going to be some level of chaotic, just craziness.
Well,
until things get somewhat organized.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, I'm not going out trying to hurt somebody. Man, if I can make a fair trade for something that helps assure both of our survival, I mean,
sure,
people will pull together.
Sure, you're not. But what happens when we have a team of people who pull together who all are?
I would be. I'd go get me a new house.
Which one? Hers.
That guy's right there. And I like his wife, too. So you would, that's the problem, is that not all humans are going to think logically about it.
Defend yourself. I mean.
Well, see, then now we're spiraling down into the chaotic nature of humanity. So, but would that all happen if, what would it led to if we stopped caring in things like voting for Donald Trump, or Hillary Clinton? If
I already stopped caring about.
Well, yeah, so did I, and nothing changed. But if the whole population were able to let this go, would they then? Would they deem democracy a failure and say, okay, democracy didn't work. We're not going to vote anymore. We're going to come up with some other way for you guys to choose your leader.
End up with a monarchy?
Well, if they decide, if they said, okay, you guys don't want to vote, forget it. We'll vote for you. And then you're going to end up with a monarchy again.
Yeah. No, a dictatorship is what you'd have.
Or something, yeah.
They would immediately change the law so that one person could be in charge forever.
Go back to king and queen or dictatorship.
It'd be dictatorship for sure.
Interesting. So really, there's no like you were talking about. Thomas earlier mentioned that scene in The Matrix when was it the architect that mentions the first? Yeah. If you haven't seen The Matrix yet, I'm sorry, man. You deserve to have the whole movie spoiled for you because, dude, that's just weird. Anyway, it's not really a spoiler anyway, but nevertheless, the architect says that we had tried it. The first Matrix we made, everything was perfect, and everyone
Total
was happy.
bliss.
It was bliss. Yeah, human beings couldn't handle it. They went insane. They started doing this, that, and the other, and so they had to tear it all down, and they had to build in imperfection to keep us happy. And I wonder if that doesn't apply.
I think it is part of it because you're right. There's no way any of us can be happy. We are not chemically balanced enough.
You're not right
from
in
the
mind.
moment we become a human to successfully be happy and to actually navigate through life in a fair manner. Everything else is just a disaster, but it's the way we think about things. It's what we gravitate towards. People are much better at jumping on a cause because they're mad other than being happy. If you're like, oh man, guess what? From now on, everybody gets free laundry. Everybody's like, yeah, cool.
That happens in product reviews too. Kind of off the wall, but it's a funny concept because a lot of the times, if there's an item that not 10 million of were sold, but maybe only 1,000 were sold, and you're more likely to see negative reviews for it than you are positive reviews because the people who are unhappy with it, of the limited amount of people that bought it, are going to have the motivation and the fuel to run out there and say, hey, this thing sucks, as opposed to the 9,990 that did like it, or do I say 1,999 or whatever, you know what I mean?
We're doing math, man. I'm writing down. I'm long division over here.
That touches on human psychology, though. I mean, we focus on the things that give us negative feelings.
If they're stronger than the positive.
Well, in most cases, it's what we'll remember.
Most cases they are. And you can argue, like, what's stronger, love or hate? Well, both of them make you stupid. So what's the difference?
So maybe that right there is why Trump got voted in, man, because more people hated him, and that actually got him more votes because people focused on it more.
Well, I think it definitely got a lot of people to pay attention to him because so many, me, like I've known of that dude for decades, and I've never liked him. Yeah. And I'm just like, he's a horrible person. He'll probably be president.
Nice, dude.
That's kind of how I looked at that dude for years. I was like, whatever. And I don't know. It's a long fight battle, but going back to that, I think that all of us, in our personal lives, we all had experiences where something really cool happened. You're like, yeah, you're behind it. Like, friend gets married, and you're like, cool. Or somebody wins the lottery. Well, not that's a different story, but somebody shows up with a pack of beer. Everybody's yay. But when something really goes wrong, really goes wrong, you take a completely different change to it. And I think that negativeness is what we live on as humans. And if it isn't there, we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
We're not that great of a species yet. We haven't advanced to the point where we're actually capable of really being honest with ourselves and really expressing love that can give a better meaning to all of our lives.
Yep. There's still no news like bad news, man. Everybody still wants to hear about the
bad news is they're still talking about you. And that's the thing too. You look at somebody like Trump. I've read a lot of stuff about a lot of different people, and he's one of them. And that dude learned in the 70s that every piece of media, every bit of attention you can get is good, equals good. There's no bad publicity because people are talking about you.
Yep.
So, we're in a mentality now where we got back to the celebrity thing, back to the, we want to be a part of something, a sports team. We carry our 49er logo sticker on our car, whatever it
Raiders.
is. Raiders,
so
Nation.
We'll get behind supporting a random party that works for, that symbolizes the same organization, but we'll pick one of these two faces.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even when they bail out companies that should be failing, they
send jobs overseas.
Oh yeah, so
And
China.
cut pensions.
They love China.
payouts to the buddies.
Special interest.
I'm sorry, I do not feel represented.
No, but it's impossible for one of two to represent all of us anyway. That's a ridiculous idea.
Sure,
but yeah,
I mean, our how many representatives does California have?
I have no idea.
Well, you usually have a couple from counties and the city, and there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Well,
I have no idea what
I
the
have no
number
idea.
is.
But
Do you mean in like the Senate? Because in the Senate we have one. We have one
everybody
Senate.
has one vote.
Everybody,
The
but in the
has-
House we have
based on population, right?
right.
Yeah.
It's based on population, but at the same time, one representative for what percentage of your population?
Yeah, your district or whatever it breaks down to. I agree, and I think that's a big thing too. And I because of being involved in art here in what I consider a smaller city, Sacramento, I deal with a lot of like arts councils and people like that. I actually know a few politicians in the town, and that unless you're living in their world, which is a socialite world, you're never going to cross paths with these people unless you stand in line at some book signing or some sort of handshake and baby kissing contest that they're doing the day before elections. So again, it goes back to that. Even if they're in this area, I've had some success by knowing, in the area that this business is in right here that we're podcasting from. I know the city council member, and he's been here before. I've talked to him. I can send him a Facebook message, and he will respond to me. To me, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But we're also talking about a district that is like, I don't know, 15, 20 city blocks kind of.
Yeah.
He's a part of a bigger thing, so this is his little stop. So, but it's cool that you can do that. But that's the point I'm making is you can do that if you want to be active in your community and really make some sort of changes. The first thing you need to do is be friends with the people in charge.
Yeah.
Because the people out begging for money ain't going to help you with your cause because you're just another idiot standing there letting the dirt blow in your face.
Yeah. Or the
you're
couch,
not in the Ferrari blowing the dirt.
Yeah. The couch politicians yelling at their TV.
Armchair quarterbacks.
There you go. You're not going to make a difference at that sitting there. That's for sure.
But I still don't believe it does anything for me. And there have been times when we've had issues around here with the building with crazy people or vagrants and stuff like that, and I've contacted through the city council to get like a hold of maybe a different police unit that handles that sort of activity, and I've been amazed at what I've been able to accomplish. But it took a lot of time. Mm-hmm. It took a lot of me getting to know this person and putting in the effort to do something. The average person doesn't have time to do that. And the average person probably doesn't have any sort of reason to make that happen. You just can't walk up to someone and have a conversation with them.
Not in this state, anyway.
In this state, yeah. But I mean, you just can't just walk up and be like, hey, blah, blah, blah. Like your best friends and everything, you can work on a problem or something. You can't just walk up to a politician and say, hey, I got an issue. Okay, well, get in line. We'll hear your story.
He's busy.
Right now, I got to go have lunch with a dude from Exxon.
Yeah.
Who's got a problem as well.
Nice. Right. Yeah, exactly. How do you get on their radar, and how do you, actually stay on it? And I mean, that's almost impossible. There's too many people.
There's too many people.
They're going to pay more attention to whoever donates more to their cause.
Well, absolutely, and it's the same thing. That's what I was saying before. You got to become a part of their social status. You have to be a member, and because of being involved in the art community, people who do a lot of the events and stuff around here, I know a lot of business people in this city that are very pushy into that community, into our local government, and I have watched these guys make decisions.
Wow.
Because they're a developer who's putting in $30 million worth of projects in downtown Sacramento, or this, there's people that, and at the end of the day, is that wrong? Because these people are investing in it, and maybe they're wanting business, so it keeps them in business, which keeps people employed.
Yeah,
so it's almost like a mafia mentality. Well, we're the bosses, we're in charge. We need this to happen so we can pay these guys because we want to do this, and the wheel just keeps spinning. So at some point, you're like, well, the wheel's spinning. Don't throw a rock under there. Yeah. That's what you just hope for. I think everybody just hopes that the wheel will keep moving, and that's why we want to believe in some of these things, because we want to keep things going. We don't want to lose everything we have.
Yeah, it's really easy to see how the whole lobbying thing, comes about and keeps growing bigger and bigger, because you have a position of some political stance and you want to hold it. Well, it takes money for you to hold it. I mean, your office doesn't just, it's not like you're making a product and selling it. So somebody's got to pay those bills. So, somebody steps up who has their own agenda and says, oh, hey, I'll donate some money to your cause if you, pass this, which will help me benefit. And now all of a sudden you got...
Can you put a slight amendment in this law that's coming up so that we can operate over here without taxes for the next 10 years?
So before you know it, you've got a paid-off politician in your pocket, and it benefited you as the company because you got your part done. And the next time you need something else done, well, they'll remember you because you donated a large portion and kept them in business.
They look at you and go, hey, Mr. 3 million, what can I do for you?
Exactly.
And that's the mentality too that I think is the biggest problem with our politics, is going back to the phrasing that career politician. To be able to exist that long in that career and to keep climbing that chain, you're making more and more friends, quote unquote.
You're building your network,
your social your social community that's also the CEOs for every, Fortune 500 company in America. So when you go to become a senator, you can pull them with you and you bring a team. And it's been proven over and over. If you know anything about history and anything about presidents of the United States, every one of them had their group or has their posse that they bring with them, that they develop during their political career. Everybody has done that. Trump's a prime example. If you really know anything about his past, you know that there are people there with him now who have been there the whole time since the 70s. And every politician that's been successful, every major president has had those teams. Roosevelt, all these guys, I mean, they've all had some sort of little support group, and that's from building that up, becoming somebody. At some point, that's an untouchable human being. This is the celebrity. Politicians in the day used to be the celebrities that we have now. When you would pick up the newspaper, what there were 10 or 12 super famous actors in 1925 or whatever. Obviously, there's a lot more than that, but you know what I'm saying is that the population smaller, everybody was smaller.
People didn't care about that kind of stuff. There was no Entertainment Tonight before that, right? I mean, we weren't taught to care about celebrities and those type of celebrities.
But Roosevelt was a celebrity. All of these guys were celebrities.
Political celebrities.
Political celebrities. So so I think it was easy for people, and if you go back in time to this American dream that has been kind of developed, I feel like since post-World War II, it's this ideology of all of us are a part of something. Look what we did. We beat the Germans. We beat the Nazis. We beat the bad guy. However you want to say it. There was this huge American, we're together. We're here, except for the minorities.
Back patting.
And then, it's 1950. And so they just ran with this thing. And so it enveloped everyone to be a part of something. They felt like, I think the common people, look at World War II, people were lying about their age to volunteer to go into the draft or to go to war because we were a part of something. We had a voice. Everybody counted. You sent your son off to war because he counted. He could make a difference. And that, I think, is what bred all of this. But as we've gotten a larger population and things have gotten a lot more skewed and a lot more diversified and dirty, there's been a disconnect of all that because there's just too many people to deal with it. There's still the same amount of people in charge, but there's a town hall meeting could be 40,000 people where before it was 60.
Yep.
So how do we bring it back to people's hands? How do you?
Let me throw this out there real quick. One of the things that this country promotes and has always defended is this illusion, or hopefully, whatever. I don't know I can't think of a better word, but I'm going to call it illusion of freedom. And one of the things that I see, or think I see anyway at this point, is the more freedom it seems you give people, the more, and the more people we have, the more odd point of views pop up. You've got...
You mean like a subculture almost kind of thing?
Yes,
like,
and you've got subcultures of what do they call the terrorist sympathizers? You've got subcultures of Americans that burn flags and hate America, yet they still live here. You've got subcultures of immigrants who come over and do whatever they're doing, but who do they really show association to? I don't know. Some are Americans. Some consider themselves Americans wannabe. Some still consider themselves from whatever country they came from. You have so many different subcultures growing in number that the very thing that you promoted, whether or not it actually ever existed is debatable, but you have this thing that the country promoted under the name of freedom, the freedom of speech and freedom rights or whatever. If we ever actually had those, all that seems to be allowing to breed is more people who don't agree with the way the freedom is being handled or the way the freedom is given to us or the rights that we have or this, that, and the other. So as those things grow, those people grow in numbers, and you trying to play off of your question, how do we bring it back? I'm almost worried to think that what if the answer is to take away freedoms so that people have less of an option to change their mind from what they're being programmed or have been programmed to believe and follow in suit with the way things used to be?
I don't know. I think that would spark...
You're right.
I feel like that's
conflict.
already happening.
It is.
I agree.
You think they're trying to take away our freedoms?
It's been
definitely
happening
are,
all
yeah.
our lives, man.
Yeah.
Little
by
bit,
little.
little bit.
Yep.
It's-
And that's like that analogy, with the frog. If you drop the frog in boiling water, he jumps out. But if you boil the water with the frog in it, he'll
Slowly.
just sit there.
Yeah, he'll sit there and take it. Yep.
Yeah. We've talked about that.
I think part of it has to do as well with our us being more familiar and accepting of scandal, especially with politicians and
Desensitization.
right, a bit of a desensitization. When because I never thought personally that we would elect somebody who is in the middle of a class action lawsuit for a $23 million class action lawsuit for literally scamming the American people, which Trump did. Yeah. Also, somebody in his political party was convicted for child pornography before he got elected. Yeah. It seems like in the past that would have completely knocked somebody out of the running.
Yeah, we impeached Clinton for
blowing a load on a dress. I mean, come on.
Well, he didn't get impeached.
He didn't get impeached? Okay, well, whatever. There was a huge uproar for him doing...
He was president until the day he was out of office. There was.
Is that?
It didn't
I don't
affect.
Remember now.
He finished his term. There was no.
But there's a big push for it, right?
Yeah,
they tried to.
Huge, but he made it through his term.
Wow, I was really young back then, so I don't
because he shoved a cigar someplace maybe a cigar shouldn't have been, and he blew a load on a dress. I mean, come on.
We've all done it.
Right. I mean, that seems a lot less bad than what Trump has been accused
molesting.
of. Yeah, than what Trump has been accused of. It's like I don't believe it, man.
And I agree. And we've talked about this before, and I throw this out every once in a while because I feel like it grabs a lot of topics. The 100-year cycle. Information runs on a 100-year cycle. So what Donald Trump believes as a 72-year-old person, he learned 72 years ago or 50 years ago when his parents were teaching him how to be a person and how to think a certain way because they learned that another 60 years before that. So it takes over 100 years before any sort of like change and general thought seems to happen, and we're all in a different span. But I think with the information and the lying and the building up people's tolerance to put up with BS is kind of in the same realm. And I brought this up before. If you tell Joey in 1950, blah, 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 well, he's going to tell his kids that he has in the 70s, blah, 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 blah. And when those kids have 70 kids in the 90s, they're 3 generations into believing whatever that was. Yeah. So whether it was right or wrong, they don't question it anymore because they're just pushed to this cycle. So you feel a certain way about something, and it goes back into media for sure because we are being programmed. That's what they call it when they put on things for television for us to watch. Listen to the words. Programming, that is a giant picture of what's going on with the way we accept information, the way we think things. I mean, you're absolutely right. Everybody here has made a point tonight to say something about how the person who is president, if somebody would have done that in the 70s,
never would have flown.
They would have been lynched.
Yeah, never would have flown. It wouldn't even have made it that far in the running. Yeah, we don't want to turn this too much into a Trump hate topic or whatever.
Well, Hillary was just as bad, man.
Yes.
Oh,
exactly.
absolutely.
There was
The Clintons
total
are the biggest
terrible
mafia
stuff.
to ever come out of the South.
It was ridiculous, man. It's just, I was shocked in both of them. I was like, why don't we throw both of these, idiots out of here? It's like, this is ridiculous.
and so I feel like if any of us who are listening want to make a change in the world of tomorrow, here is my 10-second clip on advice. We say that we want an option in all of the elections, every election, city council, state, Senate, whatever, anything that we are voting on. We have a third circle, and that third circle is none of the above. And you have to find 2 new people to run on your party for us to vote on.
Yeah, and
that would be
that
beautiful.
should be a law.
I agree.
And term
that-
limitations for judges, all of these people. Because you can't be a judge and have graduated from law school in 1930 and be standing in court today in 2017 and tell me that you're still identifying with the world.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely not. That brings to mind a story I just heard recently about this judge who took it upon herself to deny same-sex marriage licenses in a state where it had just recently been passed. And so they had big problems with it. They didn't get rid of her, obviously, because I don't know the process to do that.
it's part of the
you
union.
can fire a judge.
But her, the people beneath her, basically the resolution they came to is that the people who work for her would handle those cases instead of her.
Really?
Because of her religious belief or whatever her beliefs were to not
See,
sign
that
those.
can suck it.
Yeah.
You
That's
can
wrong.
cry
Ridiculous.
that to the end of the moon. My religious belief, my blah, blah,
And how does
blah.
that even hold precedence or place at all? It's who's supposed to be an unbiased passer of judgment of the law, interpretation of the law. That's a whole other topic. Justice is a blind goddess, right?
It is. And yeah. Until we abolish religion,
Yeah.
we will never be free to think.
No. Till everybody has to go out there and come up with their own ideas from the ground up, like those of us that weren't raised with given-handed ideas and ideals. We will never be free until everybody can do that for themselves and stop worrying about it in the long run, man. Think of the world peace we would. Yeah, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah. Well, the religion aspect kind of touches on what you were saying, Thomas, about the 100-year
Cycle?
That's
cycle.
the same thing for religion.
Same thing. A religion isn't truly a religion until it has survived a generation.
That's right.
Absolutely.
You have to let
you have to have somebody born into it in order to have that imprinted deeply enough in somebody's psyche that that's what they refer to,
And-
and they don't question.
That's right.
If you
Exactly.
look at
It's always been there.
Did you question Santa Claus until you were like 6 or 7 or something like that?
Oh.
No, nobody questions Santa Claus, man. There's a dude who comes down the chimney. What's the matter with
He's
you?
bringing me stuff my parents won't give me.
The
I like this
cookies are
dude.
big.
at that age, man, anything your parents tell you, that is
Hell yeah.
hardwired
Absolutely.
in. That is truth.
Yeah.
One of these days we're going to do a really good episode on
Yeah.
religion.
Well, and I feel like that whole aspect right there, this is the direction I'm going with this argument, is that we have been told to think a certain way that puts us in this deciding factor all the time. Look how almost no one, I mean, every time there's a giant election like the president, because I guess that's important, every time there's one of these elections, I watch the one thing that I'm always waiting for somebody to say, which is like, hey, we don't like these two.
Yeah.
Give us somebody else. So we're the people. Hey, we're the people who haven't voted yet, who are going to vote for. 180 million people who are going to vote or whatever for you guys are running your mouth. We just want to say collectively we don't like either one of you.
Yeah. We got a douche and a giant turd sandwich.
A douche and a
I mean,
turd. We don't want either. We don't want a douche, and we don't need more turds.
Yeah.
So let's get. We need another selection.
What do you guys think of the Electoral College?
It's a confusing mess. I understand the basic principle, I think, but I don't think it should exist.
That's how he won, right? Was because the electoral, whatever you just said. Sorry,
Yeah,
that
pretty much.
Electoral
Thank
College.
you. Those votes counted more than the people's votes.
Well,
right?
our votes don't
Yes.
count. It's
That's
only the
yeah,
Electoral
yeah, yeah.
College
See,
votes
that-
that matter for the presidency, and that's a representative. It's not a popular vote.
So do we say, hey, we want to change that person in our district who represents that? So we could say, hey, as California, we want the person who has that say, or the 2 or 4. Now you guys have a different title, and we vote for you
Yeah.
because they're just a part of another system.
On top
so
of that,
they're biased no matter what.
Yeah, and it completely eliminates the importance of us voting if somebody else can just bypass all of our votes altogether.
Yeah. It's a whoopsie for the people in charge.
Yep.
It's the Masons or whoever is pulling the shots around here that says, hey, if they actually do against us that one time, we're just gonna go ahead and say
just cast our votes and they'll outweigh theirs anyway. It completely destroys democracy.
And that's one of those things again. It goes in those 100-year cycles. If it hasn't happened. There's lots of things in politics that haven't happened in 50 or 100 years. If they happened right now, people would go, what? And so I think that's one of the things that you see occurring with people like Trump and the way that they went through their election. There's lots of things that we've been narrowed to only look at this for so long. Mm-hmm. And the one thing I'll say about his presidency or his whole, running campaign thing was that, man, the guy was a genius. He was Barnum and Bailey.
Yeah.
And clowns wanted to see Barnum and Bailey, so the clowns watched Barnum and Bailey, and so whatever. But it's and don't be offended if you're a Republican or a Democrat, because
it's not about that.
My opinion is if you're either one of those, you're not paying attention.
Yeah, that's
well, then we also have an issue with our campaigning in this country.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. Just a money game, and who can benefit more from
Have you ever observed the way that France does their elections?
No. What have you seen?
Well, for one, every candidate has an equal amount of advertising budget. If somebody gets X amount of time, every candidate needs to get that same representation.
It's very equal.
I like that.
And in our country, it's whoever has the most money to throw at.
Yeah, I think there should be a huge thing that should be thrown into the pool is like, hey, from now on, if you want to run for president, you can spend $3 million.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah,
or all your money that we can see now today as you hand in your net worth and your tax returns, so we can see exactly what you have today before you jump into the pool, so we can approve it just like a bank would do for a loan or a mortgage.
And your campaign is allowed X number of minutes total on television for commercials, but we will put together a website for your stance on everything, and we will do it. We will have amazing documentation there on everything that you could possibly think about, and so that the people can go there, research you, and not see your crap on television and not hear your stupid things.
So as France, I don't know much about that whole how their thing goes together.
I was mostly just listening to the some of the debates back in 2013 when they were doing. I think it was 13. Could be wrong, but anyway,
a few years ago.
Yeah, right around the time that Obama allowed the surveillance drones in our airspace.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Nice.
Didn't get a say on that one.
No, I didn't vote for that at all. I love the laws that pass that we never actually vote for. Gun control laws are one of those, dude. It's like they pass stuff and we don't vote for them at all, dude.
And that's another thing, too, about the whole passing of laws thing. Here's how stupid this is. And maybe if someone's never heard this said out loud, I want to say this, okay? So if you want to make a bill, you can say, our bill is titled Band-Aids are free. So from now on, everybody gets free Band-Aids.
Cool.
It's stupid, whatever it makes, but hey, maybe it's part of healthcare, something like that.
Anyway, there you go.
And then the politician B says, I'll go for that, but if you do that, I want to have gauze pads included. Oh. And then they keep adding and changing.
Who's going to pay for that?
And changing things. Well, what happens is when you get like 30 pages into it, somebody goes, well, screw Bill, I'm not throwing in those tampons for free, and I'm not doing the condoms. I'm approving this one thing, that's it, so I'm voting against it. Because they turn it into a fight of words that is a lawyer-driven argument to win a case. Yeah. And it's not about trying to win a case. And we should be rebelling in the streets over this fact alone. They are basically doing that to mock the entire existence of democracy, and they're in charge, so they can do whatever they want. So they can
create job security for themselves, right?
Creating job security. And they're just fighting over these stupid little things because some special interest group is their buddy that knows this, so we can put this in this law. Yeah. We need to make a law only be like a page. Yeah, here's the law. Yeah. Here's the law.
Simplify the process.
Here's the 3 paragraphs.
Yeah.
Article 1.
Keep it short.
Did you see Article 1? Article 2 says go back to 1.
Yeah, exactly.
And stop asking questions.
Don't understand Article 2? Read Article 1.
I don't want to vote for that unless you put that little tag that I can use dolphin meat in my tuna.
Yeah.
Because my cousin has a company over here who needs free something in this building, in this, it's all tied to something and somebody's family and somebody's special interest. At every level of politics, there are special interests. If you're in a community and you want to help bring in new business, you might make a little bit of a shady deal with a couple developers or some people, or just something to get something moving in your area so something can look like you're doing things.
Yeah. So do you guys think this is a little shift in the direction a little bit here, do you think that anyone out there or that a considerable percentage of the population holds on to the political system and stays involved in it and follows it purely based on the hope that how it maybe used to work or how they perceive it to work still exists? I mean, just off of hope alone.
Well, I mean, I still vote just for that reason. I mean,
me too.
Snowball's chance in hell that something I say might actually matter for a decision. So I'll throw in my 2 cents. Do I expect it to mean anything in today's political system? Not a chance. But I will still speak my mind.
I feel exactly the same way. So
also, vote with your dollars.
Okay. I don't want to go into that one because I believe that's a whole nother topic that's not really political related. But
it totally is. Yeah. Everything revolves around money.
Yes. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, and that's how votes are cast in the big world. That's how the big boys cast votes with your money.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't we do a few on our own?
Yeah, exactly. So maybe it is that maybe the reason that people like us, Glenn, still vote, even though we know. I won't speak for you, but for me, I know it doesn't matter at all. I mean, the electoral. I can't say that stupid word.
Say it 7 times, Ben.
Yeah, I'm going to do that after we're done here.
And hold your tongue.
Since that vote that we mentioned earlier, which word I cannot say,
the electoral college,
electoral college vote matters over our vote anyway. At least I still keep the hope that, that I don't know. It makes me feel better, I guess.
Well, they let us vote on the small issues like petty bills.
Yeah, I mean, like our local state stuff or whatever, and I don't even know if that stuff really matters. But hell, it did go through 3 times, right, to legalize marijuana. Eventually, it finally passed.
Because California, the state that everyone else says, "Oh, you're just a bunch of dumb hippies."
Yeah.
It took 3 times to vote in,
and we weren't the first state either.
Right?
We're like the 13th or
Maybe
something.
Maybe they were right. Maybe we are just dumb hippies. It took us 3 times to vote on weed.
Dumb hippies who a majority of the population in the state is hardcore Republican.
Hardcore, absolutely.
It's like 3 cities, San Francisco, L.A., and Sacramento that control and create and make California a blue state. Yet there's millions of people who are hardcore not blue in this state. It's a weird, weird state. Mm-hmm. And the only ones that I know of who have it as bad as we do is New York. I mean, they've got one city that controls all of their stuff, and that's like a tiny little portion of that city.
And it's a big enough state that the population of the rest of it is more than
that city, yes.
Yeah, so they should have more voting power.
Yep.
But again, what's it go back to, Glenn? How come? What's it called?
Say the words, Glenn.
The Electoral College.
And it's interesting that you have states too, like Texas, for example. Texas has several major cities in it, right? But those cities do not control their the majority of their vote. Texas is, I guess, vast enough on the outskirts of those cities that they can still maintain their red status, even though I'm willing to bet any high population urban environment like a city, they always seem to go blue. And I think
which is an interesting point, though, because if you step out of these large cities and go visit rural America, life is completely different.
Oh, absolutely.
If you've lived your life in a city, you have lived your life in a bubble.
Absolutely.
Well, wait, now it's a bubble on either side, because if you live your life in a rural area, you're surrounded by a bunch of like-minded people, and you don't get exposed to very much diversity at all, and that's why.
Unless you live in a very diverse place.
A very diverse rural area.
No, I think you're talking about being in a bubble of the city.
But when you get outside of the city bubble, you're in a new bubble. You're in a bubble of like-minded people.
But I was saying, if you were in the first bubble, which was this big city, and it was a place like New York, that's pretty diverse.
Oh yeah. So exactly. The more, and it's interesting to see that the more diverse an area becomes with a high population like that, the bluer it seems to come. And I've always thought that was really weird, is why do...
I know why.
You know,
I know why.
bestow upon us the knowledge there, great one.
Because that's when the Republicans move in and start buying all the businesses that are making money. And then they take control. And then they become politicians. So even though it's a minority or a diverse place, which is a lot of America, look who's in charge.
Oh, that's true.
A very small amount
Certainly
of
isn't
a minority. They're not a minority. They're soon to be a minority, I guess. But, you know, you look at the people. I tend to use the phrase white Anglo-Saxon Protestants.
Yeah. Yeah. That's America right there. Awesome. Well, guys, we're about up on time here, so we're going to head out on that excellent point Thomas just laid on us there. Show notes and other info can be found at our website, greatdistraction.com. The Great Distraction is listed in iTunes, and we greatly appreciate it when our listeners take the time to look us up and leave us a 5-star rating and review. That helps our show grow and motivates us to continue producing content. If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can do so using the email address, greatdistractionpodcast@gmail.com, or via our website. We're always interested in hearing any thoughts, comments, or questions from our listeners. Keeping up on the latest from us can be done in several different ways. You can add us to your favorite RSS feed tracker. The link is available on our website or in iTunes. Or you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for Great Distraction, one word, no space. As always, thank you for listening, and thank you for all the support.